"You don't own this anymore." That's what she said. Not shouted, not snarled, just calmly, like she was reading the weather off her phone. The words landed heavier than any insult ever could. I was standing barefoot on the gravel strip beside my garage, coffee still steaming in my hand, morning fog curling around the cedars like breath from a sleeping animal. My world was small and deliberate. Sunrise coffee, feed the birds, walk the fence line, fix whatever the land decided to break overnight. Silence as a kind of prayer. I'd bought the place 5 years earlier, 3 acres tucked against the edge of a quiet development that used to be farmland. The houses crept closer every year like moss, but my parcel stayed stubbornly wild. Tall grass, oak shade, a creek that sang at night if you listened hard enough. No HOA governed my land. That was the whole point. I worked remotely as a systems engineer. Quiet money, quiet life. No kids, no pets besides the raccoons that treated my compost like a buffet. I valued routines the way some people value friendships. Predictable, stable, safe. And now this woman stood in my driveway like she belonged there. She was in her late 40s, sharp haircut, athletic jacket with the HOA logo stitched near the collar. A white SUV idled behind her, parked halfway across my gravel entrance like a territorial animal. "I'm sorry?" I said, not yet annoyed, confused more than anything. She smiled thinly. "The board voted last month. This access lane now belongs to the Association for Overflow Parking." I stared at the gravel, the same gravel I'd spread myself 2 summers earlier, sweating through a July heat wave. The same gravel that led directly to my garage and nowhere else. "This is private property," I said quietly. She tapped something on her phone. "Not according to our updated plat." Something in the way she said "our" made my stomach tighten. Her name, I would later learn, was Cynthia Marsh, HOA president, amateur tyrant with a laminated badge of authority and a voice trained to sound reasonable while doing unreasonable things. At the time, I didn't know any of that. I just knew something felt wrong. I asked for documentation. She said she'd email it. I asked her to move her vehicle. She said she'd be quick. She left the SUV blocking my driveway while she walked the fence line, taking photos of my shed like she was cataloging evidence. My coffee went cold in my hand. That morning, a new white sign appeared near my gate. HOA temporary parking, authorized vehicles only. Temporary has a way of becoming permanent when no one pushes back. I called the county assessor's office, confirmed my deed. My survey lines hadn't moved. The HOA had 0 legal authority over my land. That should have been the end of it. It wasn't. The next day, another vehicle parked in the gravel, then another. Residents started using my driveway as a turnaround. Tire tracks chewed into my grass. A soda can appeared near the fence. I sent a polite email to the HOA, attached my deed, asked them to stop. No response. Then a violation notice appeared taped to my gate. Unauthorized obstruction of community access, fine pending. That was when the quiet in my chest shifted into something sharper. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was intentional. If you liked the video, please subscribe. I attended the next HOA meeting, the first time I'd ever stepped into their clubhouse. Fluorescent lights, folding chairs, a smell of burnt coffee and carpet cleaner. 30 people staring at me like I'd wandered into the wrong church. Cynthia sat at the front table, gavel resting beside her manicured hand like a toy weapon. I spoke calmly, presented my documentation, explained that their parking arrangement violated my property rights. She nodded politely, then dismissed everything. "The board has reviewed this matter," she said. "Our legal counsel confirmed our authority." That was a lie. I knew it in my bones. A few residents shifted uncomfortably. Some avoided eye contact. One man near the back gave me a sympathetic half shrug. Afterward, Cynthia pulled me aside. "You're making this harder than it needs to be," she said softly. "People here rely on this space. Don't be selfish." Selfish? For wanting my own land left alone? Within a week, rumors started circulating. I was hostile, difficult, anti-community. Someone claimed I'd threatened residents, a fabrication so absurd it almost made me laugh until I realized people believed it. A complaint was filed with the city about my unsafe structures. An inspector showed up unannounced. Another violation notice appeared, this time for illegal fencing. The fence had been there for decades. I started documenting everything: photos, emails, timestamps, license plates. I installed discrete cameras near the driveway and along the fence line. Nothing invasive, just enough to capture activity on my property. What I saw confirmed my suspicions. Cynthia herself used the driveway regularly, parking her SUV there overnight. Once I caught her directing a delivery truck onto my gravel like it was her own personal loading zone. I filed a formal trespass complaint with the police. They warned the HOA. The parking stopped for exactly 3 days, then resumed, more aggressively. One morning I woke to find my gate chained shut, a cheap padlock looped through my latch. I cut it off. That afternoon, a notice appeared claiming I'd vandalized HOA property. My name started appearing on neighborhood forums, comments accusing me of being unstable, dangerous, a problem. Isolation crept in like fog. Neighbors who used to wave now looked away. Packages went missing. My mailbox was dented one morning, subtle intimidation. But the cameras kept rolling. And they caught something else. Cynthia altering posted signage at night, removing temporary from the parking sign, replacing it with a more permanent-looking marker. I zoomed in, watched her hands work under the glow of her phone's flashlight. Forgery. I dug deeper. Public records, HOA filings, financial disclosures. Patterns emerged. Unapproved expenditures, payments to a landscaping company owned by her brother, legal consultation invoices with no listed firm, missing reserve funds. The HOA wasn't just overreaching, it was rotten. I contacted a friend from college, now a property attorney, quietly sent him everything. He confirmed what I suspected: multiple violations, potential fraud, clear trespass. But taking on an HOA isn't a small thing. They have money, lawyers, momentum. Then came the apparent loss. One afternoon, a tow truck arrived and removed my own vehicle from my driveway at the HOA's request, claimed it was illegally parked in a community access lane. I stood there helpless as my truck disappeared down the road. Neighbors watched from behind blinds. I paid the impoundment fee out of pocket, let the anger burn cold and steady instead of hot and reckless. Cynthia had overplayed her hand, and she didn't know what I was holding. The tow incident pushed her into arrogance. She began parking her SUV in my driveway openly, overnight sometimes, leaving it there like a planted flag, daring me to escalate. I didn't confront her again. Instead, I let her grow comfortable. The cameras recorded every arrival, every overnight stay, every instance of signage manipulation. Audio captured her phone conversations when she stood near the gate, bragging about putting that hermit in his place. Meanwhile, my attorney prepared a quiet package: trespass, harassment, fraud, forged signage, financial misconduct, abuse of authority. We coordinated with county zoning, the city prosecutor's office, and the HOA's own insurance carrier. The trap was simple: let her incriminate herself completely. One Friday evening, she hosted a neighborhood community parking kickoff. Balloons, folding tables, a banner proudly announcing the new HOA parking zone, planted directly on my gravel. Her SUV sat front and center. She posed for photos, smiled for cameras, gave a short speech about reclaiming shared space. My cameras recorded everything. 2 hours later, authorities arrived. Not flashing lights, just quiet professionalism. A zoning officer, a police sergeant, a representative from the HOA's insurance underwriter. They asked her questions. She answered confidently and incriminated herself repeatedly. Claimed authority she didn't have, admitted altering signage, confirmed directing residents to use private land without easement, couldn't produce legal documentation when asked. Then the financial questions started. Her smile faded. By Monday, she was removed as HOA president pending investigation. Within a month, formal charges followed: fraud, misappropriation of funds, falsification of records, criminal trespass. The HOA board issued a written apology, paid restitution for damages, removed every sign, repaired my gravel, installed a permanent boundary marker at their expense. Neighbors started waving again. Some even apologized. Cynthia avoided eye contact the one time I saw her packing boxes from the clubhouse office. The quiet returned. Mornings went back to birds and steam rising from coffee cups. The creek sang again. The gravel lay undisturbed. Justice didn't arrive with fireworks. It arrived with paperwork, accountability, and the slow restoration of dignity, which is how real justice usually looks. I didn't win because I was louder. I won because I was patient, because I documented, because I refused to surrender my ground quietly. Peace isn't the absence of conflict. It's the refusal to let injustice rewrite your boundaries. Have you ever had to stand your ground when someone tried to take what was yours?